Hello, I'm Joe Weston, and welcome. We're here for it's July 9th, 2024, and we're here for our uh, online global heart gathering, which we're doing now monthly. And it's as always, it's a pleasure to connect with those who show up on Zoom and what I call the World Wide Web, and those who are connecting from their hearts in their own ways at this time. And as always, we come together to gather, to hold space with one another, to create community, to create a space where we can resonate with people, with like-hearted people, sharing similar values, where we get to practice, we get to cultivate our skills of resilience and fierce compassion, and help each other find our way through the chaos of what we're seeing at this moment, in what's unfolding on this planet at this time, to help us support each other and to try to make some sense out of what we're seeing emerging. And as I always say, and I've been saying this now for I would say now for almost 20 years, the the bad news is that the structures as we currently know them are crumbling, and the good news is that the structures as we currently know them are crumbling. So we're in a time of the in-between, the liminal, which is magical. And it's an opportunity for us to see that if we can keep ourselves regulated, stay in our hearts, stay connected with others, always cultivating resilience and our own sense of power, and supporting one another in these challenging times, we can see that amidst all the chaos and the uncertainty, that something beautiful is emerging. And the media is not necessarily showing us that because it's not profitable for them. Conflict sells more and fear sells more. And there are ways to connect with communities, as I'm doing with individuals, and this is one of those ways. So it's great to have you here. I want to share something. This is going to be a little bit of different a session than we usually have. It's great to see familiar faces, and those who I haven't seen for a while, welcome. People from around, from Europe and from various parts of North America. And I want to share with you, this is going to include PowerPoint. We're going to get a photo demonstration. So bear with me with my technical skills. And I'll share with you the context with this. Let's see. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to do this. Do you see this image?
Yeah.
Can you see me as well? Is it still possible to see me as well? Okay,
Yeah.
great. So I'm sharing this image with you. We're going to do a little history lesson of me and my heart walks. And believe me, there's a reason for this. And in terms of helping us understand, or help for me to understand and share with you what's unfolding on this planet at this time. So bear with me, we'll get there, I promise. As always, sometimes it's a long journey, but we do get there. So here are two photos that I took recently on July 4th, which in the United States is called the Day of Independence. It's when people in the United States celebrate the signing of the Declaration of Independence, which was when the founding fathers of this nation, of the United States, signed a declaration to say that they wanted independence from Britain. It's a quite remarkable document of its time. Of course, there's a lot of reasons why it doesn't resonate now in the 21st century. But at that time, when human beings were still functioning, certainly in Europe, with something called the Great Chain of Being, which basically determines in Europe and with the Catholic Church, the Christian Church, that the monarch was divinely chosen by God, and therefore the monarch had the right and dominion over all human beings and could decide what to do with them. To claim that a human being had their own inalienable rights, sovereignty over themselves, was quite remarkable. And one of the strengths of the founding of the United States and its Constitution was just the idea that there isn't a monarch, that the system is set up with an executive branch, which is the president, the legislative branch, which is Congress, and the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court, and that many different people are basically monitoring to make sure no one's taking over power. Well, for those of you who may have been following what happened a couple of weeks ago, the Supreme Court made a judgment which basically challenges that whole notion. So in essence, 6 people of the 9 people shifted on, this is my story. I'm making up my story about what's happening. I'm not saying it's the truth. I know there are people who see it the same way, some people who won't. But they basically shift the whole nature of what the United States was supposed to be with their latest ruling. And I felt important for me to go and do one of my heart walks around the Supreme Court. And you'll see I'm wearing the iconic Occupy Here t-shirt. I'm currently wearing it as well. And I'll say more about that, which is basically the essence of all the work that I've done. And what we're doing in this global heart gathering is this idea of you can come up with many different kinds of intellectual solutions, statistical solutions. But in essence, until we drop back into our hearts, we're not going to see shifts. That's my viewpoint. So why is this important? I'll say more about what my motivation was for walking around the Supreme Court building 9 times. But I want to give a context of my heart walks. And again, to bring this in terms of the context of what we're doing. In the early 2000s, at the beginning of the 21st century, I was in meditation and I had an image of me walking the perimeter of mainland United States in the shape of a heart. Because I was thinking the US needs some loving. It was really struggling, as was many parts of the world, but I was focused on the US at that point. Now that's a big chunk of land. For the Europeans, just to give you a context, the mainland United States is basically as big as all of Europe, including Britain. So my idea was to walk the perimeter of all of that. I never did that, but I did do a number of other smaller walks. And in 2003, as you see here, Baby Joe, I did a marathon in Amsterdam. Wow. You like Baby Joe, huh? And believe it or not, this is me at the 26-mile mark of a 26.2 mile marathon. This was at 40 kilometers of a 42-kilometer approximate marathon. And you see I have a symbol of a heart, and in the middle a Tibetan syllable Kri, which is the Tibetan symbol for compassion. So my motivation for doing this run was to bring more love and compassion into the world. I think that sustained me through the walk. This picture next to it is, I'm not in that picture, but to give you an idea of Amsterdam with a marathon in it. That was 2003. In the meantime, I never got to do a mainland US, but I did do heart walks in Shanghai, China, in Milan, Italy, in Denver, in Chicago, and many different cities. And one city, when I moved to the Bay Area, I did a number of heart walks in San Francisco. There's Baby Joe there in 2005 or something, with the same heart walk, heart and Kri and love and compassion. And that's a map that a friend of mine's, Ed Babin, made of our heart walk that we did from 2005 to 2008. And I'll put a link if you want to see on our YouTube channel. There's some interviews about these heart walks. It's really remarkable to see what we did. What I want to bring up with that is that we were always marching through the streets of wherever we were, but we were never anti anything. We were always for peace. And what I found remarkable is that every heart walk I did, you could see the people on the sidelines. They would just see a group of people walking, and you can see them go into fight mode because they were ready for, okay, it's going to be about something, and I'm either for it or I'm against it. And you can just see them in this stance of like, let me see what this is about before I'm for it or against it. And when they saw that there was no for or against, and it was simply about the heart and peace, you saw them melt. They just melted, and they smiled. And in essence, what that did was, in the simple act of walking with tension of the heart, um, we were able to disarm people's fight response, their internal polarization. And then I did a number, oops, trying to see, let's see. Then I did oh yeah, and then I did many meditations for Occupy Oakland 2011. When the Occupy movement was in Oakland, I would go every day with a bunch of people and sit for an hour just to give people a moment to rest. It was so chaotic. There was so much stress, and we just wanted to provide that sense of stillness. So we went pretty much every day for months. And on November 2nd, 2011, if you see the picture on the right, I led a 12-hour meditation during, it was a day of the worker, a strike. For the whole day, there were tens of thousands of people walking through Oakland, and I set up space for people to come in and out and meditate. Sometimes we had 4 people, sometimes we had 40, sometimes we had 100, back down to 4. But holding that core, that stillness was key for me in this. I then moved to DC, and I did many the peace meditation you see, where I came up with the idea of occupy your heart. And this is at the White House. I got permits to sit at the White House and invite people to come and meditate, again, finding a still place. We did a lot of these practices on September 21st, which is the United Nations International Day of Peace, holding space for the disarmament of putting down our arms internally and externally. And of course, we did a number of heart walks. This is the map, as you can see, around the White House. We did one in 2020 before the presidential elections. We did one for Jimmy Carter, who's currently still in hospice, as a way of honoring him. And you can see the infamous Occupy Here shirt. And that brings us back to the Supreme Court building. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm bringing this in for a specific reason, because why is this important to me? This was my way of doing my activism. And we are in a significant moment at this time. Oh, let me put the link in if you want to see if you can. That's where you can see some of the interviews about the different heart walks. Link is there. We're at a significant time that I believe is calling us to step up and find new ways to be of service, to get engaged. Many people are feeling disengaged, feeling that we have no power. And what I'm offering is something that I call creative social activism. Creative social activism, meaning we're here every month to cultivate deeper levels of fierce compassion and resilience. So what are we training for? The idea is that we're holding higher levels of capacity to love more beings, to be of service to more beings, to hold peace and bring people into dialogue. And what I'd like to do is to inspire you. You may not be the person who goes out into protests or who gets involved with a campaign or runs for office, but I truly believe there's always something you can do. I had a client once who said, I wish there was something I can do. I want to be more of service. And in the coaching, I helped to recognize, well, what do you love doing and what are you good at? And she says, I'm really good at needlepoint. So eventually in the coaching came up the idea of her calling places in town senior citizens places where senior citizens were living. And she called them and said, I'd like to volunteer once a week or once a month and just sit there, bring yarn and needles and just knit with people or needlepoint with people. And she did that. And she noticed after a few times going that it just woke up the hearts of the people that were there. She had an impact. She did something she loved doing. It wasn't going to change a war somewhere in the world, but it had an impact at that moment for a number of people. And that's what I'm suggesting is, what is your way of getting into creative social activism? What can you do today? One little thing that you didn't do yesterday. And from there, you can discuss, because she did that a few times and then she realized, oh, I'm going to keep coming back. And she went more and she started a little business with that, where she was offering her services in various places for people who were lonely and didn't have anything to do for the day. And she brought them some joy and some light. She didn't know that was going to happen until she started. I didn't know these heart walks were going to go the way they're going until I started. And I still don't know where they're going. What I do know is these fabulous t-shirts, because these t-shirts that people who own these t-shirts report back to me and say, Joe, it's remarkable. You know, if I'm at a party, if I'm at a market, whatever, everyone stops and just smiles when they look at my t-shirt. And why can't that be enough in a world where there's so much animosity and tension to just do something as simple as show up with a t-shirt and make people smile and give them something to think about? Occupy here. What does that actually mean? What does it mean to occupy my heart? Well, the practice we're doing is what that is. It's training ourselves to occupy our hearts, especially in moments of stress. And I want to come out of the share and just share with you what I posted on my social media feeds in regards to this event of me walking around the Supreme Court building. And I'm going to have to do it in chunks. I'm going to put them in the chat. And I would like to this to be what we discuss in terms of what this is part of it. So if you could listen just for a moment, just take a breath and listen. On this July 4th, 2024, I felt a need to do a heart walk around the United States Supreme Court building in Washington, D.C. When I took these photos, I had already done 6 heart walks around the building, one for each of the Supreme Court justices whom I feel have lost their way. With compassion and curiosity, I believe that when these 6 were young, they could feel in their hearts an authentic desire to be of service and to bring about fairness and peace. Unfortunately, because of greed, fear, blind faith, arrogance, and hunger for power, they lost access to their hearts. May these heart walks in some way bring them back to their hearts and reawaken in them compassion, wisdom, and the true desire to be of service. And the rest of it is, let's see, cut and paste. I will now go and do 3 more heart walks around the Supreme Court building for the other 3 justices on the Supreme Court. May these heart walks in some way bring them unbounded fortitude, courage, resilience, and the resolve to always stay true to their values and principles. As the United States celebrates this Day of Independence, may we remember that laws, any laws, are nothing more than person-made constructs designed to subjugate others and do not have the power to solve our problems or help us evolve. The cultivation of the heart, kindness, generosity, wisdom will always set us free. And I'm finding that a lot of people are asking me based on this work in terms of, what's your solution for what's unfolding in the world? I just did that. And it's always a challenge to basically say, if all of the books we have and all of the statistics and all the money that goes into research would have solved our world problems, we would have solved them already. And continually having intellectual discussions about what peace is, philosophical discussions about what the problems are, is not going to solve our problems. And unfortunately, people are too caught up in their heads to get that really at least the first step on the path of a solution is is occupying our hearts. That has to be a first step. And why is this pertinent to our practice? So in a sense, I'm telling a story. I don't know if it's true that some of the Supreme Court justices, if you know who they are, just think of some of them. I don't know for a fact that when they were 10 years old, they had open hearts and cared about people and were fair and really wanted to be of service for the benefit of all beings, not just rich people or white people. I don't know that to be true, but I'm making up that story. It's a possibility. And why can't it be true? So the question I ask you, and I would ask anybody that I talk about in my book, Fierce Ability, is who's telling your story? Who's telling your story? And many of us, I listen to people, and I'm in DC. So those of you who know DC, or who is to just think, I sit and I'm in cafes, I'm in restaurants, I'm in meetings, whatever. And what I'm hearing people is simply regurgitating what they're seeing in the media, in the news, and I'll also say Holland. I hear the same thing in Holland, or what they're reading in books, or what the latest fad is on what the problems are in the world. All they're doing is just reiterating facts that they've heard from other people. In a sense, they're not telling their story, they're telling the story that is being told to them. Who's telling your story? Many people have an image of these 6 Supreme Court justices who made these decisions, and they're fixed in that view of them, that they're evil, that they're impenetrable, that they don't care about people. They have a lot of stories about them, and that may be true. But if we want to see change happening, which story is going to bring about more of a possibility of change? One that says they are fixed, they are evil, there's no shifting them, or one that calls into, with curiosity and with compassion, the possibility that they can access their heart again. That at one point they could access their hearts, they got lost. And that is the key of what this practice is in cultivating fierce compassion. For those of you who have been doing this for a while, we get stuck in our labels that cause separation. And instinctively, without thinking of it, we label people as loved ones, stranger, or adversary. And what we've been discovering with this practice is that it's not fixed. If I view you as a loved one, you are not on your side inherently loved one. I have labeled you loved one. Same thing with stranger. If I consider someone a stranger, I'm labeling that person stranger. And how do I know that to be true? Because that person has people in their lives that they're not a stranger to. So they're not a stranger to every human being. They're only a stranger to me and many others, but they're not a stranger to the people who know them. The same is true for adversary. I can give you a list of people that I would consider adversaries, but they're not adversaries to everyone. Some people love them. Some people ally with them. So in essence, the practice, and I appreciate this from my teachings in Taoism and Buddhism, is to see that that person isn't inherently that. Why is that important? Because if I realize that it's my label of that person, then I have the power to soften the rigidity of that label. And that's where hope resides. That's where possibility resides. That means I'm softening the rigidity around my heart that's keeping me and others and all of us from allowing the solutions that are there and ready to be implemented, to emerge and to be implemented. So it's not just a Hallmark cardy kind of thing to say, let's all get into our hearts. Let's all occupy here. It's a fundamental practice of actively having courageous self-reflection to say that we're contributing to part of the problem. And the way we're contributing to the problem is the areas where we have rigidity about how we're seeing the situation and others. So we have power today to shift what's happening in the world by doing the work of softening our own rigidity. And that's, again, where hope resides, where possibility resides, where magic resides, where healing resides, and reconciliation. And that the new that is emerging in the human spirit has space, like a flower. If the flower remains really tight and rigid, it will never have the opportunity to bloom and show its beauty and give off its fragrance and its pollen and all of the necessary things it needs to create harvest. So in this idea, the more we can soften the rigidity around our hearts, the more we can open to a deeper capacity of what we have to offer in this moment on this planet. So that was a lot. Does anybody want to have a share a quick reflection, and then we'll do our practice?
I'd like to just say, I wish I could record what you just said and send it to the pastor I spoke to this last week, because I sing in the choir, and the choice of song that he sang 2 weeks ago had words like wicked and justice, and I had a really long conversation with him explaining how hurtful those kinds of things are, especially with all the conflict in the world. And he changed out the song based on our conversation. And I also shared with him, having took some trainings from you and James O.D., that if I were to sit down with somebody that may have identified as an adversary, or as what he was calling wicked, like he was saying, what if it's somebody who's a slave owner in the South, and I sit down with them, I'm going to tell them they're wicked. I said, wow, I'm not going to tell them anything like that. I'm going to sit there and want to get to know them. And he was kind of blindsided by that. And I just want to share your words from today with him, because they're so perfectly on point and beautiful. And I really appreciate your teachings. Oh my God, I just so appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for all you're holding in the world. And we can get you a recording if you really want.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I want to send him that recording of this conversation that you had this morning, where you presented exactly what you presented about walking around there and talking to people and seeing people as not adversarial. That was beautiful. Thank you.
If I can share, I had an interesting moment. When I was doing the heart walks, when I was doing the meditations for Occupy Oakland, I was invited into the National Occupy movement to do some consulting. And we were on a phone conference call. And one of the people who were part of the Occupy leadership, because we were talking, they wanted some consulting about, they were doing Occupy LA, and they were invited to talk with the police department and wanted some guidance. And one of these members said, well, the police are evil. And I did what I do. I did my fierce civility. I took a breath, and I did all the practices, regulated my nervous system, met the others where they were, create safety and trust, speak my truth. And I asked this person, I said, what do you gain by seeing the police as evil? And it disarmed him, right? And remember, for those of you who've seen the TEDx talk and all of that, the purpose is not to disempower another, it's to disarm their reactivity. So the question was a skillful way of disarming where he was without him feeling like I was dissing him or insulting him. And he was able to pivot and make that shift. He's like, you're right. I'm not gaining anything by seeing them as evil. And that shifted him. And even if I connect with him like years after, he would always bring that up. Thank you for that moment. Anybody else want to share based on the whole historical story I sold? No.
Joe, hi. If I may, hi. If I may, I'd like to take what you just said and sort of switch it to a different kind of situation. As you know, Bob and I are caregivers of a very close family member, and she has been walking through dementia for a number of years, and she is now very close to the end of her life. I have learned what you just laid out, that we all should learn about adversaries. I'd like to apply it to what we first considered an adversarial role position we found ourselves in. It was, why me? We can't do anything about this. My sister is going to die. But what we've learned along the way is that's this. what you do is this, and you embrace the situation, you accept it, and you find a way to show your love instead of your fear, anxiety, and why did this happen to her? So it's the same learning, but not, you know, we're political and we don't go there on your, in your sessions, but change a political sort of thing that you're trying to deal with into a personal life
Yeah.
situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't know why, it never makes sense to me why people say, if it makes sense. If it makes sense to you, then it makes sense. I don't think that's what you're asking. You're asking, you know, you're asking something else, but that's a whole other thing. It resonates with me, what you're saying, and it may resonate with others. And that's the practice. We're going to get rigid. We're going to go into that fight, flight, freeze response. We're going to go into, oh, why me, poor me, or I hate that person's evil. It's going to happen. We're human. There are very few humans that aren't going to go through that. The question is, what do you do next? It's not trying to go crazy and get rigid, trying not to have those thoughts or those feelings. You're going to have them. The question is, how long do you indulge them? How long do you stay in them? Do they have more power over you than you have over them? And then always the key is curiosity and compassion, even for your own stuff, is what you're saying. If I'm understanding you correctly, Jean. Oh, look at that. Look at me, the poor me. Or why do I have to do this? Or that, if I understand you, or whatever it is. And then to remind yourself that with this idea of creative social activism, what if the greatest thing that each one of us can do here is simply be a safe place for other people on this planet? What if that's all that we were meant to do? In a world where people feel so unsafe, where people feel so disempowered, where people feel so dysregulated, where people feel threatened. What if even if they don't know you, and even if you're sitting on a subway, that still you can radiate that sense that you can just sense that their nervous system relax for a moment? What greater gift for me, I speak for myself, could I possibly give at this time on this planet? Again, no one's going to know about it. I'm not going to be invited on TV to talk about it. I'm not going to change governments. But it's my practice and it's my contribution. And if your contribution is to be of service in the way that you have, not just to your sister, but to other family, I know your story, both of you. You've been a remarkable place of safety and grounding, safe haven for many people around you. It's remarkable. And I want to honor that and celebrate that. You don't have to, I'll do it. So thank you. And many people in this Zoom room right now, and I know dear Angel, who I know for 100 years, you know, the beautiful things and ways that you're holding space and have held space. So it's remarkable. So let's get into our practice. It's a lot of talking, but I'm compelled to really want to share that. And again, so this practice is to help us cultivate the very thing we're discussing now. How can we move through the world as compassion and action? How can we move through the world as refuge? Where it's effortless. We don't have to do anything. We simply are it. By cultivating, as always, resilience. And for us in this practice, resilience is defined as presence, awareness, balance, and flow. Meaning that if you're in resilience, then you meet every sense of rigidity, whether that's a mental rigidity, a physical rigidity, an emotional rigidity, a spiritual rigidity, or the rigidity of others or your environment. You meet it with skill, with finesse, with grace, courage, and shift it and pivot it into flow, back into balance and flow. And the idea of cultivating fierce compassion, that let's say that your heart is already capable of holding all 8 billion human beings in your heart easily without burning you out or making you tired. But just like a good athlete, you know, what do you need to train yourself up to allow your heart to hold more beings, not only humans, without it burning you out, without it feeling like a burden. So sitting in power sit, which is your spine is straight without being rigid. Also elongating from the back of your neck, tucking in your chin a little bit. Relax your jaw, relax your shoulders, relax your belly. Bring your attention now to your core, your lower belly, your center, which is approximately the width of 3 fingers below your navel and 1/3 of the way into the body. So if you take your fingers, you want to see, place it over your navel. Where your pinky resides, that's the width of 3 fingers below your navel. Bring your attention to that spot, and from that spot, bring your attention now inside of your body, about 1/3 of the way into the body. Bring your full attention to that spot. If it feels safe for you, close your eyes. If not, then as you're looking down towards the ground, have your eyes slightly open. Focusing in your center of creativity, impulse, gut wisdom, personal power, awareness, perception. From your center, become aware of your physical body. Don't think about your physical body. Don't feel your person. Try not to feel. Simply use your awareness to register, to listen, to notice what's happening in your body at this moment. Sensations, breath, heartbeat, hunger, tiredness, temperature. Building relationship with the present moment, first through yourself, currently in this moment, with the physical self. From your center, become aware of your emotional body. What emotions are you present to? If you can let go of judgment of emotions being good or bad and simply allow them to be, see if you can give them space to flow. All of you is welcome. From your center, become aware of your mental body, your thoughts. Trying not to focus on the literal thoughts, but simply use your awareness to notice the quality of your thoughts. This present moment. Maintaining an awareness of your core, your center, and your lower belly as the foundation of the practice. Now bringing awareness to the middle of your chest, where your heart center resides, heart power, compassion, respect, connection. From your center and from your heart, become aware of that part of you which has connection to something larger than yourself. Taking the time through your heart and your personal power to notice and connect with that part of you which always has access to something larger than yourself. And in this moment, from that part of you, becoming aware of your connection to something larger than yourself. In this moment. As you are aware of this sense of something connecting with something larger than yourself, different parts of yourself, feel the earth beneath you as you connect in with the earth, anchoring yourself, letting yourself be held. Allowing this connection from Mother Earth beneath you and from that which is larger than yourself, flowing into your heart and your center, radiating out to fill your own personal space, right out to the edges of your own personal boundaries. Behind you, above you, all around you, feeling the brilliance of who you are, the expansiveness of who you are in this moment. With this awareness of self in this present moment, take a full breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. With this awareness of self in this present moment, now from your center and from your heart, become aware of your surroundings, keeping your eyes closed, opening up all of your senses and your perception to connect in with your surroundings in all directions. Behind you, in front of you, to the sides of you, above you, below you. Considering how the surroundings are influencing you. Some of you are currently connecting with some remarkable surroundings, including a Greek island. What a gift to share that with all of us. How is the surroundings influencing you? How are you influencing your surroundings? With that awareness of self and surroundings from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Building on your relationship with this present moment, maintaining connection with yourself and your surroundings, and now from your center and from your heart, become aware of the others in this meditation circle. Holding heart space with those present in the Zoom room and those who are holding space outside of the Zoom room. What does it mean to connect with someone from your heart to their heart, from your personal power to their personal power, with honor and respect? How might you be influencing them in this moment, and how are they influencing you? And with this sense of connection and awareness of yourself, your surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. As we're stretching the muscle in our practice to cultivate more fierce compassion and resilience, maintaining connection with yourself, your surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, as you now from your center and from your heart connect with all human beings. First, let's start with those you would label loved ones. Who arises in your heart? How many loved ones can you hold in your heart in this moment? What faces do you see? Groups of people. How does that impact you? Does it open your heart more? Does it shut your heart or close your heart a bit? For this particular practice, I invite you now to focus on one loved one. Don't take too long to decide who it is. Choose the first person that arises in your heart. And in your mind's eye, stand face to face or sit face to face, connecting from your heart with honor and respect to their heart, from your core to their core. Simply be with them, noticing how that influences you, how it might influence them. Asking yourself, how can I be a place of safe haven in this moment for this person? How does that shift you? And consider the rigidity of what your viewpoints and assumptions are about this person, even though they're a loved one. Do you really know everything about them? You may know them 5 decades, but do you really know them? So from your heart, activate more curiosity and compassion to consider that there are parts of them that you don't know anything about. There's so much more to learn. Cracking open your own rigidity of your viewpoints and assumption of who this person is. See if how that affects you, how that might affect them. Letting them fully be who they are as opposed to who you want them to be. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. And with gratitude for this person and for yourself, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. Now, from your center and from your heart, become aware of those human beings you would label strangers. How many strangers flow into your heart at this moment? What faces do you see or groups of people? How does that influence your open-heartedness in this moment? And I invite you now to focus on one stranger, maybe someone you saw in the supermarket yesterday, someone you saw on the news or in the newspaper, a neighbor, or just someone an idea of someone somewhere else on the planet. Who's the first person that pops up? And either sitting or standing face to face with them, connecting from your heart with their heart, from your core to their core, with honor and respect. How does that shift? Does that shift something in you or them? And considering as you stand face to face with this person, in your heart, what can I do to be a safe haven for this person? Or not even what can I do? How can I simply be a safe haven for this person? Or may I be a safe haven for this person? Notice if it shifts you or it shifts them. And once again, from your heart, activating curiosity and compassion to see if you can break through your rigidity of this idea of considering them stranger. Why are they a stranger? What kind of childhood did they have? Who loves them? Who's afraid of them? What makes them cry? What makes them sing? Noticing that if that influences your heart, soften the rigidity, your label of this person. And with gratitude for this person and for yourself, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. And from your center and from your heart, become aware of those human beings you would label adversary. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? Groups of people. How many can you hold in your heart right now? How does that influence your level of open-heartedness? And see if it's possible to choose one to focus on. That might come really easily for you, might be a little more challenging. Choose the first person that arises in your heart. And as you stand or sit face to face with them, making sure you're safe in this moment, from your center to that, from your heart to their heart, from your center to their center, with honor and respect, connecting. Considering, what would it take for me to be a safe haven for this person? To be that one person who could possibly soften their hearts. And from your heart, activating more curiosity and compassion for this person. Seeing if you can break through the rigidity of your label. Who are they? Does anyone love them? Do they have fears and anxieties and insecurities? What were they like as children, as a child? What's their favorite color? Is there hope for them? Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. Noticing that if that shifts your level of open-heartedness with them, does it shift them? And with gratitude for them and for you, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. Imagining in the softening of your heart that in this process you've softened something in them. Imagine them turning and doing this practice with someone, and so on and so on. Influencing all 8 billion human beings on this planet. Curiosity and compassion. The softening of the rigidity of the illusion of separation. Connecting us all in with one another. Feeling and seeing that in this very moment, all human beings connecting in with one another. Connecting in with all other beings. Connecting in with Mother Earth herself. And what the results are of that. The entire planet becomes safe haven for all beings. With that awareness from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in to really anchor that in your soul, consciousness, in your heart. And allowing all human beings to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to those in this meditation circle and share this moment heart to heart with one another. Gratitude, allowing those in this meditation circle to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to your surroundings. Bringing yourself back to yourself here and now. With gratitude for your surroundings, allow your surroundings to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to yourself. And allow this practice to move through you as a way of softening all the rigidities or any rigidity you have about yourself, all the different parts of you, to come into resonance. Understanding that with the softening comes more power. More access to power, more resonance of power, more of a powerful impact in the softening. Allow the benefits of this practice to flow into every cell of your being, nurturing and vitalizing your cells, flowing into your organs, bringing enrichment and nourishment and healing, flowing into your nervous system as a way to record this and remember this in your muscle memory. The way to close this practice, taking one final breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Very slowly open your eyes, stretch your body, shake your body, look around the room, take a moment, look into the Zoom, into the little squares. And we took time to reflect, to share a little bit. We did our practice. Now we have time for some last reflections. We have a few minutes. First of all, I want to say, Rio, it's good to see your name. Good to have you join us.
Hi, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really great. You still in North Carolina?
Yes, Asheville.
Asheville, great.
Yeah.
I love how you have to quantify that. I'm in Asheville.
It's arguably not North Carolina to some locals.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Thank you. Good to have you here. Any reflections on the discussion, on the practice with the few minutes we have left?
I don't want to take up a lot of time, and I do need to get off pretty quick, but thank you again. It always is a little tricky to sit there and imagine yourself with the people that are your adversaries. I find that I end up with a little fear that triggers, and I have to let go of my fear and allow myself to be open to being close and imagining who they are better. But I just really thank you, and I love these, and I wish I was consistent about getting here on time and coming every time, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Lori. It's great when you're here, and thank you for what you're doing. And I would say the fear is okay. It's a protective thing. Don't judge the fear, and you don't have to let the fear go, but you pivot. You pivot with the fear. Pivot. Not all fear is bad.
Thank you.
Fear is what keeps you from at the edge of a cliff, falling off, right? So, so it's not. It's so see it as an ally
Thank you.
when you can pivot with it.
Thank you.
And that really is a Greek island that, if you can see there, that Liz has brought her way with us. So thank you for that. One more comment before we close?
No, I just want to, what do you mean by pivot? What is it in Dutch?
Draaien, omdraaien, draaien.
Ja.
Soort zo beweging.
Ja.
It's not so like in martial arts, pivot, like, when instead of fighting you pivot and which shifts the whole dynamic.
Yeah. Thank you.
Schakelen, draaien. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm honored for those of you who are here. And it's a real treat. Thank you. We'll let you know when we are going to be selling T-shirts. So I think it'd be really lovely that we get everyone to buy T-shirts, and we start a whole movement, an Occupy Here movement. And here are a whole bunch of our, if you can see all of our links. If you haven't seen the TEDx yet, A Cure for Chronic Niceness, you should really see that. You can get on a newsletter. There are all these links. You can look for upcoming events, get on our social media, and the second Tuesday of every month, join us. Tell people about it. So let's do a quick dedication with the energies that we've generated. May the energies we've generated touch each and every human being in a way that softens them just that little bit. And that it's in the softening that our true power emerges, and that's where hope and possibility resides. May that be activated in each and every one of us at this time. Even the Supreme Court, even the EU parliaments, it's in the softening. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Get in touch if you have questions, and see you next month.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.